Welcome, everyone, to the CAIS YouTube channel. Today, we are sitting down with Thorsten Schoormann and Frederik Möller, authors of the 2025 Paul Gray Award-winning paper, Advancing Design Knowledge Reuse, a Framework for Circular Design Principles. Today, we will be discussing the thought-provoking nature of their award-winning research. So if you could, we'll start with you, Thorsten, and then we'll give Frederik an opportunity to respond as well. So Thorsten, if you could, please, for our viewers, summarize the thesis and the main findings of your article.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for having us. And maybe second of all, this is joint work also with Magnus Rottwild Pert Hansen. So yeah, it is a collaboration between Frederik, Magnus, and myself. But yes, the paper is basically about exploring how to make use of existing design knowledge. So there's a bunch of design knowledge produced and published in IS design research, but also like in design research in general. And the basic idea was, how can we make use of the existing design knowledge? And in the paper, we come up with a framework, which is a circular design principle framework. So the idea of having like a life cycle of design principles and a life cycle of knowledge reuse. And it is more like let's say a process-oriented focus. So we try to come up with more like a procedural guidance. So it's not only about it is important to reuse, but it is intended to give you some guidance on how to actually do that. And so we have a framework and we have a translation of meaning, so to say. So we adopted things that we already know from circular economy, which is more focusing on products. So like having material flow of things and a life cycle flow. And we adopted that to design knowledge. And that's basically like this, having a framework, having translated the meanings of circularity, and having this so-called design reuse journeys, which is like really focusing on the process-oriented thing, on trying to provide you with some activities and some steps. So if you come up with a new design project, how to actually reuse and how to draw on those things that are already out there.
Mm-hmm. Frederik, anything to add to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Thorsten obviously summarized it brilliantly. So maybe I will just put it in a bigger picture. So I think one of our key findings is really that we found, like, I guess, a tension in the DSR community between existing design knowledge and the need to have novel research, which seems to result in people, let's say, trying to build stuff from scratch instead of really taking things that are existing. So the key of course, that Thorsten also already mentioned, our framework should give research maybe a process-oriented and also citable at this point way, really to find a narrative to take existing knowledge, transform it, use it in different ways, more granular than simply citing it, but like in different mechanisms, and then building something new upon it, and like without having the idea in mind that reusing stuff is bad or not novel, or it's not like a real contribution.
Thank you. So what prompted you to pursue this line of research? What was the impetus for studying this?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It is even like, I would say some years ago that we started together in the team of authors discussing like the idea of knowledge reuse and accumulation, and also this thing that Frederik mentioned, that it's not only about building something new, but maybe using something that is existing to come up with some sort of novel contribution. And we started some years ago with a kind of a pre-study where we did like a citation analysis. So we actually try to follow if someone is publishing design knowledge, how is the design knowledge that is published actually be used in like follow-up studies. And it was a larger study of existing citations. So like people who are referring to knowledge that is published. And we kind of saw that only very few articles really use knowledge which is already out there. So that kind of led to this thing that we have like duplicates in design knowledge and so on and so forth. And yeah, the idea was actually how can we provide more guidance on the reuse aspect. Yeah, so we did this pre-study, and then we are doing research like at the intersection of design and sustainability, and then we came up with this idea. Okay, there is this thing that is kind of well known and well established in research and practice, circular economy. There's a bunch of principles out there on how to do circularity, and it obviously focused more on material and products and so on and so forth. But yeah, and the first ideas was like, how can we use this knowledge, which is even also a reuse, so to say? How can we use this knowledge and translate it to intangible products like knowledge and so on and so forth? So yeah, it was based on pre-study and like the observations that there's less reuse, and then this kind of ideation process where we started to translate the meaning of circularity to design knowledge.
Frederik, anything to add to that?
Okay. No, yeah, so what basically prompted us to do it, so obviously Thorsten and I, as he said, we have quite a rich history of working in DSR, and we've been to countless DESRISs and other conferences, and we've talked to, I think, a lot of people. And in another paper, we talked to, I don't know, Thorsten, hundreds of design researchers, I guess, in total with Baustein and so on. And so I think what prompted us really was this knowing that this issue of, let's say, stagnant knowledge accumulation really exists. And I remember we back in the day, it never really flourished, this idea. We had that, like, the idea of building a design principle database, and really we thought a lot about how can we reuse it, how can we make it more accessible. Why is it not really accessible at this point? Why is it not used? How can we use design principles from one context, transfer them to another? So maybe we have design principles for one artifact that might have partial value for another type of artifact or so. And so this was many ideas that we had, and one of these ideas then accumulated in having these mechanisms. And of course, Thorsten, having his ability, kind of brought into the picture the idea of taking circularity really as a paradigm to structure this type of knowledge reuse, which I still think is quite really well done, Thorsten. So I mean, yeah, so it seemed quite natural. Even it actually didn't seem quite natural, but it seemed naturally working, like translating something that works for physical product reuse to, let's say, something that is kind of a more abstract artifact, such as design principles or design knowledge. Yeah.
Thanks.
So,
yeah, sure.
Yes.
I mean, you won an award.
So the award, the Paul Gray Award, is given to a paper that has thought-provoking aspects to it. What do you think is the most thought-provoking aspect of your paper?
Maybe different things. So thought-provoking is kind of broad, right? But in terms of what is interesting or what is maybe a bit different, is I would say one of the things is that we are kind of claiming it is okay to like reuse something. So it's not only about novelty, it's not only about like producing something new, because you can also do like a useful contribution based on something that is already out there. So not starting from scratch, not starting from greenfield, and it's maybe against this stream of new is good and new is the best. And we can see like there's a trend also in design science research. The best contribution, so to say, is a novel contribution, and I would generally agree. But it's not required to like do everything new and start from the green field, because there's a lot of valuable knowledge already out there. And a lot of innovations, or not like in DSR, but a lot of innovation comes from recombination, right? So also in business models and so on and so forth. So I think maybe that is a kind of a provoking aspect, if you will. So like against the new and starting with something that is already out there.
Yeah. So I will just jump in then. I think to build on this, I guess the big thought-provoking thing for me was really the idea to communicate that design principles in the paper, it's not the end of the story, right? Usually you should have like maybe a bigger picture in mind that comes afterward. So I see it more like, design principles, they probably will, any design principle or most of them will probably die at some point because technologies change, but it doesn't mean that what they provide is not useful in some capacity. So really deconstructing them, taking what works and maybe apply it to something that is like really try to dissect what is more valid on an abstract notion that is valid for more technologies, let's say exceeding the only specific one that they were intended to do to use for in the first place. I think this is, I guess, for me, the most thought-provoking thing. So really going with design principles beyond a single publication or two publications, really going into, well, what does it mean for the broader field and for the context of how we develop novel technologies over time. So because I'm not sure how Thorsten sees it, but so I always found it kind of weird that we basically for every new technology, we build design principles that are typically very similar. And we produce a lot of papers on at DESRIS, at ESIS, at journals, whatever, wherever. And there must be commonalities. And I think this dissection logic and then applying the dissected parts more broadly is, at least for me, I think the most thought-provoking issue.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like generally a problem to come up with new design principles when you have like a new technology. That even helps like to create more maturity, right? So the design principles are valid in different contexts and are valid for different technologies, and they should be valid regardless of the technology that is used to kind of implement the design principle. So yeah, just acknowledging like this thing of we reuse design principles in another context and learn something new. What is maybe unique when it comes to a certain technology or to a certain context, and yeah, like moving forward in terms of the maturity of the knowledge base. So it's generally not a problem, but it would be like valuable to start not from the scratch and like position your design knowledge in the landscape of what is already out there and in the existing landscape, so to say. Yeah, I think that would help the entire community to like grow and have like more mature knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I think at heart it's a call for operationalizing the cumulative research tradition of IS research, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. Those are interesting and thought-provoking aspects of your paper. And that's, of course, one of the reasons why it was acknowledged as such. So thank you for sharing that. What is the current state of research on design knowledge reuse? Are other people pursuing this topic? Are other things, new and interesting things being said about it?
Yeah, so generally I would say it's an ongoing debate, and there are a lot of different perspectives, and a lot of different team of authors are like contributing to knowledge accumulation, reuse, replication. So not only the term reuse, but there's a bunch of like related streams coming up and already out there. So there's, for instance, research on how to formulate design principles in a more reusable manner. So like really putting in the reuse component into the formulation from the beginning so that it's more like extendable and reusable. There's also research, but it's already published on like reuse evaluation of principles. We can see some accumulation approaches and also some synthesis approaches where they try to like kind of integrate the existing knowledge to move forward. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting research in the related area, so to say, of the reuse accumulation thing.
Mm. And I think the big elephant in the room right now is obviously how every field of us is impacted by AI, right? So there was a really interesting paper. I'm not sure whether it was this last year's ESIS or the year before. I think they compared design knowledge created by human beings against design knowledge created by a large language model. So also, of course, this will have to impact also design science research and design knowledge accumulation in some sort of capacity, because large language models obviously can process a lot of data and probably produce best practices and such, and how valid they are and what kind of stable design knowledge contributions they can produce is, I guess, one of the fields that will emerge in time or is emerging already.
That leaves me with my final question for both of you. What are you working on now, related or unrelated to your award-winning paper? What is the focus of your research now? Thorsten, we can start with you, and then Frederik.
Yeah, maybe in relation. So in a project, or maybe not a project, but we are focusing also like on how to integrate existing knowledge pieces within several authors on like, yeah, so there is a bunch of design knowledge published, and maybe not on reusing, but maybe we can also, how can we integrate those pieces and those knowledge chunks to move forward and become maybe more mature. So one project, which is like really kind of related to the accumulation idea, is that synthesis in terms of a design theory, like an integration of different pieces to come to a design theory. Yeah, so that is kind of the most related part that I'm currently pursuing in relation to this accumulation aspect.
Yeah.
And obviously, we are doing a lot of other things, but yeah, maybe if we stick to what is kind of really related to that, that is probably one of the examples that I have in mind.
Yeah, for me, it's more the AI route. So right now we have at Destrist a paper that will come out where we have a first idea on treating prompt templates as a design artifact. So really try to make prompting and the interaction with large language models reusable, and also extract design knowledge that can be, well, also reused, of course, for further applications. So really the intersection of how does generative AI, large language model, change our interaction with systems, also in terms of prototyping. I mean, back in the day, you really had to build a prototype from scratch. You had to learn knew how to code to do it. If you wanted to do more than just a PowerPoint mockup, but nowadays you can use Gemini. You can type in, "Hey, I need a mockup of this and that," and then you have a mockup of this and that, or like a functioning prototype, actually, not a mockup. So this will be coming out at Destrist, and probably this we will also pursue quite a bit. So the idea of treating prompts basically as a type of artifact that has design knowledge encapsulated in it.
Thorsten Schoormann and Frederik Möller, thank you so much for your time today and for your wonderful contribution to the IS community. Your paper, Advancing Design Knowledge Reuse, a Framework for Circular Design, winner of the 2025 Paul Gray Award. Thank you both for your time today and for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.